have the chance to reduce your taxes if we have more people paying. You don't have a chance of us, say, reducing VAT from 16% to 14%, for example. We will only have that chance if we have a bigger pool of people contributing. But as long as it is thin, we'll have to shoulder the bigger burden. We import close to $1 billion of edible oil. Maybe 80 billion on a good year, but largely $1 billion every year of edible oil. We've had a discussion with many counties. We were in Busia, for example, and Busia is saying, we can grow simsim, we can grow soya, you know? Can somebody help us with a market, you know? So the disconnect is the people who grow the oil crops and the market, and the people who need it. Sunflower, soya, simsim, and the whole of that space. We need manufacturers like you to come in between for the offtake, you know, and then process, right? So that we don't have to import $1 billion of edible oil every year when we can actually grow it here. I was having a conversation last night on Mulembe was it? West FM last night. And that was the conversation, you know. People are telling us, we are growing sugarcane. And we are making 20 billion shillings.
You're sitting in a silo called manufacturing. So you're only seeing your silo and not how it connects to the other people. Well, when you talk about agriculture, because and by value chain, you don't mean just agricultural. Another example which has come out of our health sector is manufacture of pharmaceuticals and medical goods. We are importing saline solutions from Uganda, made by Kenyans in Uganda, and paying an arm and a leg. So one of the things that we are seeing that we have to do to bring down the cost of healthcare is look at where we can do local manufacturing cheaply of generic drugs, of those sort of medical commodities, bandages, because our total health spend today, we have numbers, is about 550 billion. About 20% of that is commodities. So that's a good 110 billion shilling industry. How much of that can we capture? 20, 30%? Again, but it comes out of our health. Our health, since we need to do, health is one of our pillars, we're asking ourselves, well, example, something we don't talk about, I see government talking, we've been trying to do vehicle assembly for donkey years. And I've been seen a policy which is proposing that we go back to the 70s, protecting local assemblers. Yet, we have a new industry called boda boda. We've got 1 million boda bodas on the road. If you look at the replacement, just replacement rate, we're talking about obsolescence, maybe 200,000. So without even protection, we know that there are people who are already assembling. Some of your members have gone into assembling boda bodas, isn't it? Kayan General, various other people. And that's an industry where we can see ourselves leveraging on the size of the market. Because we can also, if you look at, if it was 1 million, I think within the EAC, we are talking about 5 million motorcycles. 5 million motorcycles, so that replacement rate is 1 million motorcycles a year and growth. DRC has just joined the EAC. So if we can capture sort of a chunk of that, 10%, we are exporting 500,000 motorcycles a year. And then we're even looking at leapfrogging on internal combustion, because we already have people who are doing electric, and they're easier to manufacture, so we can leapfrog the internal combustion engines quite quickly. Again, we start from a transport value chain, and we end up in manufacturing.
As we look also into being very competitive and also seeing what we produce is actually of value, of quality, we also need to see how to improve the quality of seed that is applied to them so that we enhance their agriculture to make sure that the seed, the oil content is actually going to give them a benefit by the end of the day. They would take their seeds from very far just to come and have an oil content of 8%, 7%, which is very low, from 14%. So I think if we can do that to improve and also give infrastructure whereby there can be collections and remove the brokers in between, then those people would have a value addition whereby now the manufacturer is able to manufacture good oil and also have good feed at the end of the day. Then we have the skills. Yes, we are moving towards the manufacturer and being very competitive. We also need to look at the skills. What we have seen is most government institutions, the kind of machinery that is used for training is not what we have in our factories. It's modern. What we have is modern. What they're using is old age. It's so outdated. So can we look at a way whereby we can also be able to modernize the equipment in our TVETs, in our training institutions, so that also we're able to improve the skills they have and making them employable.
Rather than sectors, because sectors can be silos, yeah, we look at a value chain. Because we want, as I said, we are looking at an economy that is production-led, rather than, in fact, investment-led, for the simple reasons of where we are financially. We have stopped talking about production and productivity. For the last several years, we've been talking about investment and enabling environment and all manner of things, except where the rubber hits the road, which is the production base. So we're looking at the entire economy in terms of value chains. And when we look at a value chain, we look at we start from the market. That's how you look at value chains. You say, what's the market for these? And what does the market want? And what can the market pay? And then you work backwards to make sure that you can compete. Where is your competitiveness bottlenecks? And those are the bottlenecks you fix. But we're also looking at, then you have to prioritize the value chains, given where we are, that give you the most bang for the buck and quickest for your public buck. So I want to illustrate with one value chain that you mentioned. That's why we need to have a meeting of minds of why we are approaching it this way, and you are looking at it more like what we need to do for manufacturers, so that we can have a meeting of minds.
Our member companies, some of the larger ones, if you put new regulations on, like now there's a new one on data protection and so on. These multiple regulations are even more harmful and expensive to the SME. Similarly with tax. If the tax, it keeps changing, you know, I'm used to going to pay my tax here on this day. Then now it has changed. There's a new form. I have to buy a laptop. I have to buy a gadget. You know, it starts becoming, it is too complicated to pay tax. So most people are actually keeping away because you've made it it's too hard. So all these things are important. And the SME, again, is important because it will be, we like to say all manufacturers started as SMEs. All of them, everywhere in the world. So we must also invest in the future manufacturers. They must come from there.